Well, I had a really hard time because I wasn't very smart. I told them that when they caught up with the game, it would be more enjoyable. And then he got up and he said, well, I want to tell you something. He said, I refereed down there for 4 years, and he said, I never had to give Coach Leifel the yellow card. But he said, I knew I missed some, because if I did, and I thought I had, if I look over to where he was, and if he was standing on tiptoe looking at the cross, he said, I knew I missed it.
That's good. That's great.
I like that.
Oh.
That is really good. So, well, that's great. Well, hey, that's, I mean, I don't want to.
Listen, I don't know what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Don't put all of that in.
No, well, no. He'll edit it and he'll make. We have a guy that does all that. He's gonna make. They'll have a narrator and they'll just pick out bits and pieces.
No, just let me ask you this.
Sure.
I would like for Ish Smith to be asked to
Yes.
accept that
Great. Yes.
for me. I coached him
Yeah.
when he was 13 years old in the city park where he did Alice. He was one of those guys who did everything right. No matter what position he played it right. And he became pretty big in baseball.
Yeah, he
He
did.
wasn't much of a player,
Yeah.
but when he'd playing shortstop, he'd go down like this and throw that ball like this. When he played first base, he tapped with the right foot, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he was her first cousin, see.
Right.
And so I would like him to be asked to do that. I haven't asked him, but I think it'd be better coming from
Sure.
whoever
Absolutely.
asked him can tell him that I suggested. He came here when they gave me my doctorate.
Wow. Yeah.
He was up on the platform.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh well, sure. I think that's great. I think.
And you
Yeah.
coached him.
Yeah, I coached him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a good one.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that Coach said that he got from Straw was to have an open door.
Right.
And I remember a long time ago. Do you realize I will have my 50th? My next reunion is my 50th.
You graduated in 63.
And your door was always open.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Well,
Yeah.
you did. I know.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
The first
If
year,
it wasn't there,
the first
it
year
was at
I
our
went,
home.
it was kind of
That's right.
one of those
Yeah,
things.
that's
It had to be. The first year I went there, I was 27 years old, and I had girls that would come in. We didn't have a woman
That
PE
you don't
teacher.
need.
No, we didn't have one PE teacher, and there were girls that come in there and want me to examine their knees,
Right.
and I taped them and stuff like that, And
Then you
I
just
said,
came to the
hey,
house.
I am not going to do anything that would not please the Lord.
Right.
I had as a grown up kid, I had a terrible time ever getting up and testifying. I didn't ever want to say something and then not live up to it.
Right.
But the open door is, I think, extremely important, and taking things under advisement is important. And you can explain to a person a lot of times why it will not work. And I've hired people that have been former athletes that wanted to change the total program, and I'll say, fine, go ahead and try it. I knew it wouldn't work, so we changed back in about 3 months. But you got to give them a chance.
And he was Barb's coach,
Yeah.
Let me tell you
basketball.
one funny experience we had. We lived in Talbot down there. No, not Talbot. We lived on Talbot. We lived on Canyon. And one morning, about 2:30 in the morning, I heard the diving board over the pool.
Oh, okay.
I lived 2 doors
Yeah,
down
yeah.
from there. And I decided to get up and go over, see who's diving.
2:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So I go over
You
there.
haven't heard the best.
And I step in, I go in and unlock the pool door and step in and flip the light on. There's 6 guys in there swimming in the buff. And I just pulled the switch down and said, "Lock her up, boys, when you leave." I went back home. And so I'm out, I'm raising money for the Loose Center. And I called a guy and he said, "Coach," he said, "I think of you just about every week." He said, "You know, I was one of those guys in that pool." That's why I didn't know who it all was. But he said, "I'll tell you, I could tell you who it is." And he said, "If you'd have called us out of that pool," he said, "we'd hated your guts till today." And he said, "A lot of times I'm walking across the gym and I'll say, 'What do you think Coach would do? What do you think Coach would do?'"
That's right. Yeah. Oh, I do the same thing. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
You do not realize how many times we got called. Go tell them to put their long pants on them.
oh, listen,
You mean just for playing sports?
they
Oh,
playing. See, we all, for everything except track, we had a specific length. You remember
No.
the
Heck yeah.
basketball? The girls had to always have something below their knee, and the guys had to have more than 3 inches off the crotch. And you know, I mean, it was so legalistic. It was
Very.
unbelievable.
Yes.
It was unbelievable. And so, which one do you want me to tell?
I just said.
The tennis
They
court
used to
one.
call
with
you
it.
to tell
Yeah,
you that people on the tennis
well,
court
YD, you know, I took his place and he moved over in the dean's office. And he said, "I'll never tell you anything to do. But he said, if there's an emergency or anything, I'll call you." So he'd call and say, "His wife," he said, "there's some boys on the tennis courts playing in shorts." We had to sign up to those shorts. I went out there and I'd chase them off. One day I went out and there was United Methodist pastor and Charlie Krause and Tom Leach and all those guys. So I just asked them if they'd put long pants on. They all had them on. And they put them on. But Glee Club, you remember Glee Club always stayed over and sang for commencement.
Mhm.
And so school exams were over and it was in that 3-day stretch in between there. And like one of my ball players on one of the class teams and one on another class were out there playing tennis in shorts. So Whitey said, "Tell them they need to wear long pants." So I'd go out and tell them. So they went home. 30 minutes later, YD called me and says, "Take a little ride with me." We drive by there, and they're out there in pajamas. Nowadays, that wouldn't make any difference because pajamas are made to wear. But they were out there in their pajamas playing tennis.
That is great.
Oh,
That is great.
Yeah,
So,
shoot.